Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to Life is Strange Remastered. Oh boy. I am, as the kids say, not doing well. But playing this game makes me feel a lot better. So, do you like my shirt? I don't know if you can see it. It might be too, I'll raise myself up a bit. There we go. It's a drawing of Chloe in this game. Let me see. Housekeeping, right. So before we get started, just exclamation point MAP, map in the chat, will lead you to the website for medical aid for Palestinians. Please donate if you can. Exclamation point GFP stands for Gamers for Palestine. It will lead you to the Game Assist booklet that gives you information on what's going on in Gaza, the issues, how to help, blah, 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 why you should get involved other than just, being a decent human being. But yeah, please do read that. That's all I can say at this point, literally just begging people to give a shit. Anyways, exclamation point, I'm not cynical, I'm happy, I'm good, I'm smiling, I'm moving on. Anyways, exclamation point CW in the chat will lead you to, or gives you the, can I say English? Content warnings of this episode, which are correct because I did edit them ahead of time because I was smart enough to know I wouldn't be able to do it this morning. So that's the shit for episode 4. Especially the first part of episode 4 is pretty heavy regarding the gross ableism of the narrative and also other shit. Please read the content warnings. And yeah, let's get into it. I just need to put my Twitch overlay real quick. Hopefully I don't end up getting it into a corner that is blocking shit this time. I think I'm gonna try maybe the bottom left corner, because that doesn't seem to block stuff as much. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. It's all good. It's fine. Let's just get started. Episode 4. Crab on the beach. Okay, that doesn't look great. The waves and shit. It looks a little, broken. This is giving me flashbacks to, Shipwreck Beach and Tomb Raider. I recently just finished replaying Tomb Raider because I wanted to play it on the PC first before I play it for stream. And what I learned, friends, is that I cannot play Tomb Raider on PC for shit. It is too hard, and I don't like it. So I just ended up plugging in the Xbox controller and saying fuck it. So I think I'm just gonna have to unplug my fan when I do it for stream, which we'll see how that works out. Hopefully my computer doesn't blow up. And got the sound of silence again. I think the Golden Hour plays here, which is a song I cannot find on Spotify, which is super fucking annoying. I hate it when I can't find certain songs on Spotify because they aren't on Spotify. Especially from the Life is Strange soundtrack, Alabaster Daydreams from True Colors. It's certainly not my favorite thing in the world.
It's weird hanging out with you again.
I know. I'm glad we are, though.
It was nice that you sent me actual letters. It's more than any of my other friends have done.
Well,
and you even wrote on that cool parchment paper. That's so Max.
So pretentious. But I love writing on it like an English poet. You deserve the best stationery.
Probably easier to write than to visit me. I don't mean that in a bitchy way. Not totally.
You can mean it in a bit of a bitchy way.
You probably wanted to avoid awkward conversations like this.
Pretty much, yeah.
Look, the worst thing you can do is treat me like a baby. I still want to laugh and talk shit with my best friend. Can we stop? This is seriously the best view of the sunset. What do photographers call that?
The golden hour.
See? Without you here, I'd have no clue.
I think we're getting the, like,
Bet you could
bulging
take some
situation
amazing
again with
shots.
my shirt.
Those beach
because of the
whales are so
belt,
sad.
too. I think we're just gonna have to
Kind of know
that.
how they feel. At least, I'm alive here with you.
Yeah.
You're a real survivor, Chloe.
Thank you, Steve.
I know you have to deal with so much.
I don't want anybody else feeling sorry for me. I can do that. Along with my parents. My dad still feels guilty about buying me that car.
It's funny how, like, recently, like, there's in the discourse, like, there's been more stuff about, like, you know, fat phobia and, like, body stuff and, like, internalized fat phobia and, like, figuring out how to unpack all of that and whatnot. And, like, I've always been better at extending more empathy to other people than I am to myself, I think. And, like, I still definitely do, like, judge myself a lot. Like, I don't like the way my stomach, like, bulges out in certain places, and I get really, like, insecure about it. But I'm trying to work on overcoming that. Anyways, so... It's interesting that you can ask if she blames William, like... It's kind of almost a parallel to the conversation in episode 3, where Chloe was talking about how she low-key blames her dad for leaving and then getting into an accident and dying.
Are you okay to talk about the accident?
We never actually have, huh? There's not much to say. Some prick in an SUV cut me off when I flew into a ditch.
Do you remember everything?
I saw everything in bullet time. I felt my back snap, and that was the last thing I ever felt in my body. When I woke up in the hospital, I literally couldn't move a muscle.
Jesus. I don't know what to say.
Don't say anything. I'm just happy I did get to see you again. I could have ended up vanishing out of the blue like that girl from Blackwell.
She obviously means Rachel, but
You mean
the fact
Rachel
that she
Amber?
doesn't know her is interesting.
When was the last time you talked to her?
Never. I just read about her in the news. I didn't even know her name. You did?
This is such a different world than when we were kids, isn't it?
Because it makes sense that
After
if
that
she
snow
was
and eclipse,
paralyzed,
it's more
she
like the
wouldn't
end
have
of
been
the
able
world.
to go to the Firewalk show and meet Rachel. And also she wouldn't have been... She as we learn later, she's not still going to Blackwell because the campus isn't accessible because Wells is a fucking dickwad. And also, like, I keep wanting to say Blackthorns for some reason. I think because I'm mixing up Blackwell and Prescott, and then, like, my brain just, like, pulls that, and it's like, no, wrong word, wrong place. For those of you who know, you know. But, yeah, also the Prescotts. But yeah, like, if she wasn't, like, still going to Blackwell and she couldn't, like, attend the show where she ran into Rachel and all that stuff, then, like, she wouldn't have met Rachel and they wouldn't have become friends and potentially romantically involved. And that's interesting.
Do you think so? I haven't kept up with the details.
I have more time on my hands than you. Plus, I'm a science nerd. But none of this makes
Totally
sense.
are.
I know things seem out of control, but as long as we're together, I don't feel afraid.
Hanging out with you makes me feel like a total kid again. You don't even know.
Listen, Chloe, I'm sorry I haven't been out to see you more. That was wrong. You're my best friend.
Max, thanks for coming out to see me. You're doing awesome.
I don't think so.
My nose is getting cold. Maybe we should get back to my place?
It is hella cold out here.
Hella? I hate that word, no offense.
Who are you?
None taken.
No, but it's funny how, like, they use that as a way to be like, oh my god, she's so different. Like, we're already seeing some, like, not great stuff in the narrative. Like, you could make the argument that that's just Max saying things that aren't great, and, like, but the narrative doesn't interrogate that, and in fact, sometimes actively encourages it. And the whole, like, just general idea of, like, this reality being somehow almost worse than the other one just because Chloe is paralyzed is, not great. By the way,
Pretty high-tech lair.
Feels like a high-tech cell.
Them to be done.
But I am lucky my parents bust their ass to take care of me.
It's literally the bare minimum. Like, they are your parents. They are supposed to take care of you.
With them.
Like, it's stuff like this, where it's like, oh,
Especially
like,
when they can't even
aren't
take
Chloe's
a walk
parents
alone.
so great for not abandoning their
Sometimes I act like a
disabled
total
child on the
teenage brat
side of
just
the
to give them an
road
excuse
and, like,
to yell at me. Pathetic, I know.
fucking...
Chloe, you're a great daughter. You're kind and sensitive when you don't even have to be.
Trust me, I still get my rage on. Especially when a nurse has to watch while I take a dump so she can wipe my bum. Or when doctors flip me around like I was a science doll.
I can't even imagine. But you're still amazing. You always have been since we were kids.
Thanks again for coming, Max. I, need to get my drink on. Can you bring me some water?
Okay. Yeah, and, like, a lot of her, like, internal monologue when she looks at stuff in this room is not
There's the old Chloe.
entirely fantastic. And, like, her talking about, like, the old Chloe with, like, such, like, a strong, like, you know, like, distinction. Like, she's an entirely different person now. And yeah, sure, like, being disabled, and I would assume, although I wouldn't know, physically disabled does, especially, like, partway through your life, or, like, a portion through your life, does change you in some ways. But, like, just the framing of the way she thinks about some of this stuff is not great. And, like, the sort of, like,
Chloe
patronizing and
totally control her
fantasizing,
computer.
like, oh...
It's so great people get
poor
this high-tech
Chloe,
help.
and oh, look, it's so cool how she can, like,
Max,
still
it's
perform,
so
like,
cool that you're here
basic needs,
I'm
and,
glad
like,
you think so.
It's just, like,
I should offer to put makeup on for Chloe.
it's just, the
that
vibes
I
are
can,
not
but
great, right? Like,
it
the
would be
vibes are,
fun.
It's interesting, because, like, I have been disabled my whole life. I don't have the experience of, like, waking up one day and suddenly everything's drastically different, because, like, I got into a car accident or something and now I'm paralyzed. Like, I didn't, like, lose my hearing or my sight, like, after I had been living as, like, a seeing or hearing person for, like, so however many years or so. Like, I was born autistic, I was born ADHD, and I've always been neurodivergent, I've always been disabled. Like, I've been disabled since birth, arguably since even maybe before birth. We're not really sure how that works, and not that I really trust autism
really my only
science. Like,
friends
take
who kept in
everything that
touch.
those people come up with a
I
grain of
should have
salt.
kept
But
more in touch.
who knows? Anyways, like, I don't really have the experience of, like, that changing, so, like, I can't really relate to that, and, like, but I do sympathize. Like, I imagine it would be quite difficult and wild, but, like, I do find it kind of weird when, like, because I think that's the narrative of disability that, like, is mostly pushed in media, like, the idea that you were once normal and then you become disabled, but some of us were born disabled, and, like, I think there should be more focus on that. What am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right, I'm getting her water. I'm still snooping, though.
I know Chloe is thirsty, so...
Yeah, I know,
the
Gabe.
snow
Just
dough.
hang on, give me a second.
I guess not
Poor
everything
Chloe, though.
changed.
She's just sitting over there, suffering with a dry throat, while her dumbass friend has to search her room.
Hello, Chloe. She likes fluffy animals now.
Yeah, also continuing with the vibes of like, oh, she's like different now. And like, oh, I didn't comment on this, but when she looks at the chair,
I still can't believe
I put Chloe in that chair. Like, it's like the whole like, oh, I'm such like a bad, horrible person. Look what I did to her. I condemned her to this horrific fate of like being physically disabled. It's like the vibes are just.
At least Chloe doesn't weigh that much.
It's kind of okay, it's kind of, I think, like,
I'm glad I took this photo.
It's kind of indicative of like
Chloe has a new memory of William and her together.
Some like physically disabled people will talk about how like people in their lives will often like blame themselves if they like get into accidents or situations or whatever that make them disabled. People around you will often be like, oh, if only I hadn't done this, or like feel like they're responsible somehow, and like start with the whole self-pity train and how that's like massively unhelpful. So yeah, if you take this photo of them, then it ends up in her bedroom. I think that's
Glad
really
to
cute.
see you're as nosy as ever.
Sorry,
I don't want
babe.
to disappoint you.
I will get you your water now.
Drink up, Buttercup.
Drink up, Buttercup.
Oh man. No wonder my throat is dry. I don't think I've talked this much the whole year.
Have you ever thought about doing a podcast or something?
I wish I could punch your face right now. A podcast? Dude, I am a pod in a cast. Boring.
Ouch. It was just a thought.
I know you're just trying to help.
People's level of support
Yeah,
for their
that's
disability
become a
after an
bad habit of
accident
mine.
closely corresponds to
sound
how
like
much
an adult
insurance
now.
they had beforehand.
It seems like we were kids in another life.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And like continuing on with what I was saying last episode, like capitalism and ableism being linked and shit, and like being disabled is expensive. Sorry, I'm not exactly sure what you were like saying that in reference to what I said specifically, because I mean I was kind of jumping all over the place, but like if you're talking about me saying like, oh, like Chloe's parents are doing the bare minimum, it's like I'm not like trying to say necessarily that's entirely a family's fault for not supporting their disabled kids properly, because like, you know, money is a bitch, and like some of us don't have money because fucking capitalism and society, and you know, in a just society it shouldn't matter, they just get the support they need. Yeah, exactly. Like, and we can get into this later on, like if all of this wasn't costing the prices so much, odds are Chloe would have like a different outlook on her life, as well as like if people weren't treating her or viewing her like a burden or like infantilizing her and taking away her autonomy and her agency. No, it was just a general statement. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was confused. I was like, yeah. Anyways, but thank you for clearing that up. And it's interesting because like it's interesting how like, because she's disabled in very different ways in both timelines, you can see how the difference in how her parents treat her. Like in this timeline, they very much like treat her as like something that needs to be protected and coddled, and like she's very much infantilized and like controlled, and her autonomy is taken away. Whereas like in the other timeline, she's also viewed as a burden, but arguably like demonized and kind of like written off. And like she does have like a certain amount of like autonomy and freedom, arguably, but like she's viewed with such like, what's the word I'm looking for, like disappointment and general almost disgust, I think, by certain people. And like it's interesting when you think about how different disabilities bring out sort of different reactions in people, but ultimately it all comes back to the same overlying cause, which is ableism. So that's fun. What can you remember?
What do you remember about us as kids? We all have different memories.
I think about us as little pirates, running and jumping through Arcadia Bay.
Me too. But we're still pirates in our own way.
Yeah, right. Check me out, Chloe of the Caribbean. No way will I get on a fucking boat now. Unless you're with me. As you can see, I can't keep all my other friends away.
You have me. I'm not leaving you, Chloe.
Well, you didn't visit me a lot either. I mean, I loved your cards and photos, but...
I know I wasn't around much. No excuses, I'm a loser. but I am trying to make things right.
How? Dude, you're not Supermax.
Also, like,
And I'm not
you don't
trying
have to be
guilt trip you.
Supermax to make things right.
That's what
And
my
I feel
parents are
like
for.
that's like like I've said before, a huge theme in this game. Like, trying to be Supermax is arguably not helpful. Are you lonely is a pretty stupid question to ask, because I feel like that's pretty obvious. But they love you, I don't know, is like, it sounds like it's kind of dismissive.
Are they okay? I mean, are they still happy together and everything?
So now you're Dr. Bill? I guess they're good, considering they have to deal with me. They laugh and hold hands. And I hope they still get busy, too.
I think Joyce and William are incredible.
Max, the accident has been so hard on them. Our insurance sucks, and the medical bills are fucking insane.
Yeah. Like, the appalling profit-driven medical system in the US is, like, 90% of the reason why this situation is so bad for, like, Chloe and her family. I was watching this stream by this one streamer I like, and she's an American who recently moved to Spain, and she was talking about how, like, I can't remember if it was her friend had, like, an allergic reaction or something. Yeah, and this guy who was, like, Spanish, like, I can't remember how they met, but anyways, I guess the details aren't really significant. Was like, well, you should just, like, go to the hospital and, like, get it checked out, even if it's, like, not necessarily serious. Like, just get, like, you can go to the hospital and you can get, like, a shot or something, and then you'll be fine. Like, just, it's not and then they were like, oh, no, it's not a big deal. Like, we don't need to go to the hospital. It's fine. Like, it's probably nothing. And then he was like, I don't understand. Why wouldn't you just go to the hospital? Like, even if it is nothing, wouldn't you rather know? Like, you should just go to the hospital and get it checked out. And eventually they were like, well, we can't afford that. Like, we're poor. And he was like, afford? But what do you mean afford? Why would you have to pay? And there was this, like, moment where she said she realized, like, oh shit, yeah, like, we don't have to pay for that here. Like, they have free healthcare. Like, that's not how that works in most countries. And then, like, she said it was such, like, a huge, like, culture shock. And it's funny because, like, I have a culture shock every time I'm reminded that there are people who need to pay for healthcare. Like, I can't even imagine what life would be like if that was a thing. Like, they always have endless money for bombs. When people need healthcare, suddenly every politician starts whining about deficit and such. Exactly. You literally need money for anything else, and all of a sudden it's, oh, we can't afford it. But war? Like, invading more countries, enacting more colonial violence? Yep, we have endless supplies of money for that, apparently. Like, fucking ridiculous. Like, schools, education, fucking parks, literally anything else. Like, nope, we don't have the money. We don't have the money because we need more bombs. Just ridiculous. Oh, there we go.
Can they pay all the bills?
No way. They keep the numbers away from me, but it doesn't take much research to find out I'm costing my parents almost $1 million a year.
Chloe, you're priceless. No pun intended.
You are such a geek. That's why I love you. Of course, I know a geek when I be one. See, I'm practically a human entertainment system. It would be sweet to chill out together and watch a movie like when you'd spend the night at my house.
What do you want to watch?
I think I'm in like a mellow Blade Runner mood. I always cry at the end. Plus, you know, I always wanted to have cool colored bangs like Pris.
I know. You would look incredible.
Blade Runner is like a huge, well, I wouldn't say huge, like,
Let's get this show on the road.
minorly
And you
huge.
better not fall asleep on
That
me
makes
like
no
you
sense,
always
but,
do
like,
when we watch
somewhat
movies.
I remember
a thing with them, and it sort of
Swear
gets
I won't fall
referenced
asleep.
again in Before
Not
the
when you're here.
Storm. when Chloe's like in her journal talking about Pris and her dream and her like sapphic awakening, yada yada. Also like her ordering the director's cut from Steph, the DVD. And I'm trying to figure out how it's thematically relevant, because I'm assuming it might be, but I can't really, like, also I don't really remember much of the plot of Blade Runner, to be honest. Like,
it's still you.
I mean, I remember the general details, I just, me personally, I think it's a little overrated, and that might be a controversial statement, but it wasn't entirely my thing. Like, I like the vibes, I like the, like, construction of the world and shit, but I've already seen that stuff in, like, shows like The Expanse, or, like, I don't know, other shit like that. And, like, sure, like, arguably, like, a lot of those ideas did come from Blade Runner first, because Blade Runner came first, but, like, and, like, Firefly, and, like, Cyberpunk 2077, and, like, there's also an argument to be made that already has been made about, like, the weirdness of a lot of, like, futuristic, like, dystopian, like, futuristic society type shows and movies and whatnot, stealing a lot of East Asian aesthetics.
Oh, permission to snoop.
Like, hang on, I guess I'll gotta pause it for a second. Like, if you think about Blade Runner is better the second time you see it, okay, maybe I'll watch it again and see how I feel about it. But, like, I also really can't get past, like, that one scene with, what's his name, Deckard, the main character, and Rachel. Like, I don't care about, like, what it's supposed to represent or whatever, like, the thematic or plot relevance or whatever the fuck. Like, it massively gives me the ick. It freaks me out. And, like, I'm glad to know that, like, other people feel the same way as me. Like, I feel so justified and, like, validated every time I hear someone else say that. It's like, great, it's not just me. Like, we're all uncomfortable. But, yeah, I don't know. I might watch it again. I'm not entirely gonna, like, write it off and stuff. I think, like, certain people, like, I'm not saying you necessarily, Steve, but, like, certain people have a tendency to get a little defensive over what they consider the classics, but, like, I'm also not necessarily gonna, like, dismiss the fact that it might be better the second time you see it. But anyways, like, what I was saying before, like, stuff like that does have a tendency to, like, appropriate a lot of, like, East Asian aesthetics. And it's a little weird. Like, why do they keep doing that? And B, if you are gonna do that, where are all the Asian people? But yeah. Anyways, this has been a whole ass tangent that has distracted me from what I originally was trying to do. Jesus Christ. I can't speak. Anyways.
Oh my god. I made that mix for her when we were 12.
This CD is the soundtrack for this game, which I find really cool and interesting. Wait, shit, I was gonna look beside her bed before I put the DVD. Whatever, it's fine, I can do that later. I had another thought. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, like, I was trying to figure out thematically, like, what Blade Runner is related to regarding, not necessarily maybe this game, but also Before the Storm as well. Like, I keep thinking about something like, I don't know, like, it's not clicking for me. Look, again, with the looks, like, what I was saying last episode, like, they're always staring at each other. It's like that one scene in Tangled, where, like, Flynn Rider is looking at Rapunzel when she's, like, gazing off at something, and he looks so, like, in awe and in love. It's so adorable. Yeah, it might not necessarily be a thematic connection.
I cannot believe you fell
maybe
asleep so
that's
fast.
just a thing that they put in there, and
you.
it doesn't have to mean anything. Like, I'm doing, like, the English major thing of always trying to, like, analyze everything, but, like, even though I'm not even an English major, but, like...
Is a replicant? Sorry, I can see you're not wide awake like me.
No,
It might not even mean
I'm
anything.
sorry I crashed so hard. Were you okay?
I do have a mother and father when you're not falling asleep on me.
You are a bitch in the morning.
It's the company I keep.
Yeah, it might just be like a movie that they watch.
Yesterday
and then
was
like
such a blast.
Chloe watches it again.
It was great.
Or
Seeing
she
you.
like
I
it's
know things
referenced
were
in Before
different
the
when we
Storm
were
because
just
it's a movie
dorky
she
kids,
likes.
but being with you made me feel like when we were little
But,
pirates,
yeah,
jumping
not everything
and
has to be
running
related
through
to
the
everything.
forests
That's true.
again.
That's fair.
It meant a lot to me just to chill out with you and bullshit. Fuck. I'm getting my regular head pains. Can you, pretty please, go upstairs and get my morphine injector in the bathroom?
Morphine injector?
It's total Star Trek shit. You can't even see the needle. Seriously, I need it. My parents keep the swag upstairs because they think I can't get to it.
Yeah, and that also is yikes.
But you can,
like,
Max.
the fact that they hide her medication from
I'm
her
on it, Chloe.
is it's a complete violation of autonomy. So, like, they're the ones that are in control of administering her medication. Like, we aren't aware of any previous suicide attempts in this
Chloe was a
timeline,
straight
so
A student. She could have gone to
they have no
any
reason to do
college.
that other than, like, just they think that they know better than her when she needs her pain medication, which is incredibly ableist and infantilizing. Yeah, Chloe's a straight A student when she actually gives a shit.
Gutless bastard. I'm so glad Chloe stole your bullshit
Here we
fund.
go. Fucking
Even if it wasn't
Wells being the
reality.
worst. Alright. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Price, as principal, I am in sympathy with your numerous requests for Chloe's special needs in regards to her wheelchair and class accessibility, etc. Blackwell prides itself on making sure all students with disabilities receive full compliance under the Americans with Disabilities Act. However, given that the campus and buildings have all been constructed pre-1977, our school has not yet undergone the modern renovations necessary to fulfill all the needs of your daughter and her regrettable condition. Sadly, with the recent deplorable federal cuts in education, it will take many more fundraisers. You have one of the richest families, the richest family in this stupid town backing you. Like, why do you need fundraisers? To fully update Blackwell Academy, that day will come. Chloe is without a doubt an amazing student with great potential, despite her handicap. And I believe she would find a more fitting, rewarding scholastic environment at the H. West Miskatonic Institute in Bolton. They have a rich legacy of disabled graduates, and I know that Chloe would achieve her usual academic leadership in more comfortable surroundings. With her outstanding GPA, there's no doubt that Miskatonic would welcome Chloe with open halls. That's weird for me to say for some reason. Miskatonic. That doesn't sound right. But anyways. That sounds like a cocktail or something. I hope you will seriously consider the suggestion, as I'm sure your daughter would prefer to attend a school that can cater to her many needs. In the same spirit, I've also enclosed brochures for other potential schools in the Oregon region. If you have any questions, please contact my office. Sincerely, Principal Wells. God, just fucking worse. This is going off of the whole, thing I said last episode, that Blackwell is not accessible and it doesn't care enough to make itself accessible. They have the Prescotts backing them. They have the Prescott funding. They probably have enough money to upgrade the campus. They're just not doing it for some reason because they don't care, because the Prescotts don't want to, or whatever. Because the Prescotts are too busy spending money on Nathan's fucking photography career. And oh god, just his language in this letter is just so yikes. It's so typical, but it's just so yikes, and I hate it. And then the whole trying to pass her off to a different school so they don't have to deal with her thing. And then trying to present it as oh, Chloe would be more comfortable there, and I'm sure she would actually prefer to be somewhere else. So, really, it's not that we're rejecting her. We're just, trying to do what's in her best interests. Oh, fucking God. The worst. The goddamn worst. Anyways. Any hoozles. Is there anything else in here that I haven't looked at yet? Hang on. The American Disabilities Act was a huge step, but it had a lot of loopholes. Older buildings could be exempt. Yeah, to be fair, I don't know much about that. I should probably know more about overall disabled history, even though, like, I'm not American.
This is
like,
just for Chloe's basic supplies.
Holy motherfuck. $8,587. Jesus fucking Christ, that is just criminal. Criminal.
Bonjour. That's great they finally went to Paris.
And, like, I don't even know this, but I'm just gonna make a wild guess based on what I know of society, basically, in general.
Their giant, expensive HD TV.
See, like, again, like, that's not even a really big sacrifice. Like, first of all, like, 2 TVs aren't, like, that terrible. Like, I mean, arguably now we might find them slightly terrible, but they're not, like, from what I remember, it's not, like, that big of a deal watching something on something that's not a flat screen, and, like, she can have the damn flat screen. Like, she's in bed 99% of the time anyways. Like, sure, let her have the damn flat screen. And the way, like, Max presents it as, like, this big sacrifice. It's just, it's like the glorifying of abled people for literally doing the bare minimum. I hate it. But anyways, what I was saying before is, like, I'm gonna make an assumption about, like...
Joyce's tips will cover all this.
I'm gonna make an assumption about, the American Disabilities Act, that it doesn't necessarily cover a lot of neurodivergences, particularly mental illness. Like, I'm gonna make an assumption that its definition of disability is pretty, like, centered around physical disabilities. Maybe that assumption is incorrect, but it's just an assumption I'm making. They could fix the access if they wanted to, they're just gonna be forced to under the Act. Yeah. And still, like,
taken away
they shouldn't have to be, like, forced to, necessarily.
That's
like,
terrible.
Hot takes. Okay. Dear Mr. Price, this letter is to notify you that you are in default of your payment obligations on your home loan, account number 783. This current account holds the amount of $12,000 payable by account, or, I did not say that right, August 1st, 2013. I think my dad's birthday is August 1st. I always forget for some reason. My brain always, like, it never wants to hold that information properly. It's like, I know it's the beginning of August, but it never wants to hold the exact date. Anyways, no one cares. This amount has been overdue since March 1st, 2009. Jesus. And you have ignored multiple requests to make a payment or reconsolidate your debt. Unless the full amount of $12,000 is received within 15 days, we must begin the foreclosure process on your home. We've given you more than adequate notice on this issue, and we have no other options left. Best, Donald Clamp Lenders. Fucking capitalism. It's like the ongoing theme of, like, just capitalism fucking up everything.
Am I bothering
in this
you?
game?
Why, yes, Max. I love going through bills. Kidding. How can you bother me? I haven't seen you in forever.
I know. You look exactly the same. It's so cool.
Good. Or I'd be scared if I didn't look like me. Of course, you seem more adult now. So what's on your mind?
Hang on, let me just grab the Twitch chat again. There we go. That's correct, it's mainly for physical disabilities. How did I know that? Because I'm fucking psychic? No, because I've lived my life and I've seen the way shit is. Wow, that was eloquent. Why isn't this working? There we go.
I was impressed by Chloe's room and all the high-tech equipment.
You should be. We could buy a few mansions for what it all costs. The insurance helps, but...
Which, once again,
Max.
like... I know I said this last episode, but, like...
guys, financially.
We really need to,
These
like,
bills are more
band
like
together,
crushing.
politically speaking.
We have to mortgage
because
our
of
home,
stuff
and
like
that's pretty
this.
scary.
Like,
But we'll get through it. Price is always right. Get it? No?
I love William more than life itself. Truly, like, it just scenes like this make you realize, like, the severity of, like, what Chloe lost, too. Like, everything else sucks, and, like, David massively sucks, but also, like, the fact that she had such a great dad, and, like, he clearly loved and respected her so much, and, like, I think she talks about in her journal how, like, one of her favorite things, or the thing that she misses most about her dad is that he treated her like an equal. Her journal in Before the Storm. And you really see that.
So you finally made it to Paris.
Oui, as they say. Not me, because I can't speak French. But it was a great experience, especially for Chloe.
I can see her loving it there. You guys rock for going on a family adventure like that.
She talked about going to school there, but that's not practical anymore. It's not fair, Max.
Yeah. Imagine, like, where we would be, though, like, politically speaking and just, like, socially speaking, if, like, things didn't cost money. Like, not just disabled people, but just in general. Like, I know a lot of people think that's impossible, but what's that quote? And I can't remember who it's by. Something, like, people act like capitalism is, oh god, what's the word? Inevitable? Infinite? Something? Fuck. What's the damn quote? You know what I'm talking about. But so was the Right of Kings or something like that. You know what? I'm gonna have to Google it because this is gonna piss me off. Sorry, 1 second. Just 1 second. Real quick. We're just gonna do this super fast. We live in capitalism. Its power seems inescapable, but then so did the divine right of kings. That's the quote. Thank you, Internet. Sorry about that. We'll get back to this now, I promise. Up the chat again. There we go. Cool. Okay.
I don't know how to say this, but I'm truly sorry about what happened to Chloe.
Me too. All it takes is a few minutes to change a girl's whole life. But she's alive. And she's been a trooper.
Is she mad at me is such a bullshit, like, self-centered answer. Like, Chloe's going through shit right now. Dealing with, like, being disabled in an ableist society, and, like, her family is drowning in medical debt. Is she mad at me, though? Like, ugh.
She is amazing. I'm so glad you're here to help her.
Oh god, I can't say that word. A broad,
Be your father.
bipartisan,
I'm so glad Joyce is here to help us both.
coalition of
Max,
legislators supported the ADA
just
while the bill
hate to
was
think of
opposed
what
by
would happen
business
to
interests
Chloe
or the bill
if I wasn't
imposed
here.
costs on businesses.
William?
Fucking course it did.
I just want you to know
And
that
conservative
whatever
evangelicals
happens,
who oppose protection
I'll
for
always
individuals
be
with
here
HIV.
for Chloe.
Interesting. So
Always.
HIV is considered a
I know you
disability
will,
under
Max.
the American with Disabilities Act. Because that's interesting. I don't disagree. I just think it's interesting how they're like, we're thinking of HIV, but we're not thinking of things like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. Like, I don't know. Once again, politically stupid not to just, like, join forces. And, like, I'm glad that more people are starting to realize that now. Like, I think, like, disability in general is, like, more broadly categorized and also starting to, like, legally be categorized in the way that, like, I and other disabled people use it. Like, I noticed on that, like, job interview form that I was filling in, like, a month back or so, like, they consider, like, the definition of disability to include, like, mental illnesses. So, yeah. Anyways.
Being around you and Joyce again is so nostalgic.
Very old school, as they say. I think it's great for Chloe to see you. Makes Joyce happy, too. So, it's not all bad news in Arcadia Bay. Or is it?
Oh, by the way, in case it wasn't obvious, because sometimes I do that ADHD thing where I don't really explain why my thoughts are connecting. Why I was trying to bring up the Ursula K. Le Guin quote is because I was talking about how people act like a society beyond capitalism, or a society where things don't have to cost money, or like at least like put you in debt and shit, is impossible to achieve. But then, like, insert quote. Yeah, you get the idea. Okay.
What do you think is going on with all of this crazy weather and animals dying?
Nobody knows, right? It is Nostradamus type shit, pardon my French. But all I actually care about now is Chloe and Joyce. My family.
I was reading about that missing girl, Rachel Amber.
Oh, yeah, she went to Blackwell, right? Oh, poor thing. That's a real nightmare for a family. I get scared thinking about Chloe and that we might lose her someday.
The Prescott family might be bad news. What do you think about them?
Evil. Next question?
Sounds like you know them well.
More than I want to. But Joyce has to work for those greedy bastards at Pan Estates. I don't even like to think about it.
I have to go see if Chloe needs anything. It was so great talking with you again.
You act like it's the last time. And please, keep me from these bills whenever you want.
Something interesting is that, like, I feel like this game doesn't really go into, like, Max's grief over William, but, like, as we see
Whales are just
in both this game and also especially Farewell, like, they had a relationship because, like, Max was always here, like, when she was a kid, and she basically grew up in this house, and, like, Chloe's family was basically her family, and, like, when, like, it's kind of almost like she lost a father in a way, too. Like, obviously not to the same extent as Chloe. Like, I'm not trying to claim that. But, like, she lost someone who was, like, her family, who was clearly very important to her. And I don't really think she ever got the space or, like, the opportunity to properly grieve that. So I think this, for her, in a way, is also kind of, like, about her grief, even though she's trying not to make it about her grief, which I appreciate. But, like, it's interesting, right? Like... And it's sad. Arcadia Bay Beacon, beached angels looking for the whales. Whereas the shores of Arcadia Bay once acted as a lovely gateway to the Pacific and beyond, now locals and tourists face the sad, surreal image of great whales that inexplicably swam to land and to their doom. Their whale pods were spotted early morning on Wednesday, October 9th. And within a few hours, at least half a dozen were dead or dying on the shore. Smartphone footage does not reveal any unusual ocean conditions or excessive pollution. Meanwhile, ecologists and marine biologists from across the country are carefully studying samples from the whales and environment. The Prescott Foundation has vowed to provide extra research funds, given the local scope of this eco-mystery. Oh, so they have money for this, but they don't have money to fucking upgrade Blackwell. Huh, interesting. Fascinating.
Rachel Amber is even missing in this reality. I guess I can't change everything.
Yeah. What's interesting about this is the Amber family is now looking for their daughter in this reality, whereas they're not looking for her in, like, what we could call the primary timeline, or timeline 1, or whatever. And, like, it's interesting to think about that difference, and, like, why that's a difference. But the theory I think that was posed in the Gamus' playthrough of Life is Strange, and a theory I kind of agree with, is, like, Rachel's relationship with Chloe, arguably her involvement with Chloe, and her, like, more blatant and obvious queerness might have had something to do with it. Because, like, arguably, and, like, this is interesting if we get into this, like, in episode 5, but, like, queerness is inherently seen as, like, the opposite of innocence. It's seen as, like, more adult. Like, children can't be queer. And, like, I don't know. That might have something to do with that, but I'm not entirely sure. It's interesting. Search for popular teen continues. Blackwell honor student Rachel Amber has not been seen for over 6 months, yet her family and friends have only intensified the search for 18-year-old Arcadia Bay resident. Police and FBI have few leads and little information in the case, which has caught the interest of national reality show where did they go? The Amber family has offered a reward for any information leading to the whereabouts of their daughter. For more details, please contact help at findrachelamber.org. Interesting. This chapter is loaded with elements that could spin off into long discussions, yeah, especially just the conversation on disability alone is like a whole thing. Also, I think I'm going to have to refresh the chat pretty soon because it's like taking over the screen and I can barely see shit anymore.
No change to spare anymore. Now it's back to cookies.
Yeah, and like the pitiful vibe of some of Max's comments is just like, or pitying vibe of some of her comments is just like, yikes, I don't like it. I don't love it. Okay, I think I looked at all this stuff already. We will go upstairs now.
Joyce and William never had a garage sale before. They're drowning in debt just to take care of their daughter. Such bullshit.
Yeah, literally, like, it is such a bullshit that all of this shit costs so much money, or costs any money at all. It's, like, ridiculous. Okay. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Price, your joint account has been closed and is now 6 months overdue. Please send a check or money order for the $3,458 payable to Happy Credit Card. Best regards, HCC Services. Dear Mrs. Price, due to recent state and federal cuts, we regret to inform you that your health insurance no longer covers Chloe's physical rehab. We can reinstate Chloe at a standard rate of $1,250 per week. Sincerely, Dr. J. Smith. God. This is just... Oh, it's just criminal. It's just horrible. It's ridiculous. Like, what the fuck?